So the first thing I just want to throw out there, and maybe a theme for what I have to share, is a lot of what we're talking about is what we all went through globally, like just say 2020. And I know that many of us had challenges before then. Many of us probably want to work on stuff then. Then maybe there are some of us who were not aware of those things, such as relationship issues, unhealed trauma, to things we need to say to a family member or not. However, what I'd like to, introduce to what I'm going to share is uh, just helping everyone in this moment just lighten up, just lighten up. I noticed that when it comes to healing work, to transformation, that approach is sometimes a lot of seriousness, and it comes with those heavy emotions. And I recognize the best way to feel lighten is to lighten up. So I just want to share this, want to share my heart with everyone on this space here. I got my 528 Hertz tuning fork here. If you can hear this, just for a moment, just go in again. And if there's no children around, or you just don't care, or it's a place where you can do it, just go either or or fuck, whatever brings joy to your heart and helps you feel lighter and feel better this very moment. Because if you are on this summit, more than likely, you want to experience more lightness, right? So there's this idea of, say, calming our nervous system. There's this idea of being more authentic. There's this idea of having better communication. There's this idea of feeling connected. But what is the results? What is it that you want to experience ultimately, right? And that is to feel, I am okay. I am safe right now. I'm feeling satisfied in this moment. And I know everything's going to be okay. And wouldn't you agree that probably what weighs on you is the idea of the future, this idea of the future? Things have changed. I mean, look what's going on in the political arena. Like, holy shit. Okay, so regardless if someone thinks they're so awake and that they have really good morning rituals, or they've healed their past and they have a great relationship with their parents, that still all of us collectively are having to walk through a lot of shit, right? So it's going to be impossible for us to get dog shit off our feet, or not get it on our feet. But however, just like dog shit, just go out in the grass and wipe it off, and don't let it stay with you throughout the rest of the day, or allow that to just deter you from what you want. So now to the theme of this, it's just, this is about 2020 vision. And the way that I use my 2020 experience to this moment is by that, and looking at it through clearer eyes with more awareness to, how do I want to become more authentic? What do I want to create in this world, even though there's so much change? Who do I want to be? What relationships are more important to me, and so forth. So that is my approach to what I'm going to share, and I'm now just going to jump into it. So many people in this moment are feeling what was already there. Many people are experiencing that which they need to look at clearer. So it's not because of last 4 years, think there's problems and all of a sudden like it's all new stuff. It's where many of us have been kind of programmed in these paradigms and also beliefs to where that life is safe, and that my future is set up to where like maybe we had some unconscious purpose of like where life is going to go. So for the last 4 years, there's been all this kind of chaos, right? You're kind of going, shit, heck yeah. So a lot of people, what we're looking for is a clear path that feels good, some knowingness that we're going to be okay, uh, knowingness that we can speak in circles and that we don't have to like hold back, or that someone's going to get really political and it's going to be really awkward, or someone's going to talk about vaccines or something else, right? Like, there was a time where we felt more comfortable to being with circles of friends. There are many people we have lost touch with, right? There are family members we don't talk to anymore. And there are people we take in small doses. And there are many of us like kind of wait to see where that person is to know what we can say and what we cannot say, right? So a lot of us are not being authentic. A lot of us are feeling disconnected because we're not being authentic and we're holding back. There is this projection that's going out there to where it's because this asshole's bullying me on social media to my father won't see me until I say do this or that to I can't talk about this or that, so I'm shrinking. I feel isolated. I'm alone. But again, remember what I just said about 3, 4, or 5 minutes ago, and that is this alone feeling, this disconnect, and this separation is something that was probably there too. So what's happening globally is triggering that, and it's coming out, and it's really easy to blame the bullshit outside of us. But if you were to not look at Facebook for a while, if you were not to look at the news for a while, if you were not to listen to people with different opinions to tell you how to live your life or to blame you for their problems and how they're feeling, and you were just to read one book, like You Can Heal Your Life, you were to meditate and be by yourself, if you were to sit under a tree or you were just to connect more to nature, you maybe would feel back like you're connected to source. You feel this oneness, you feel in your heart, and you feel like, okay, things are going to be okay. And yet, not a whole lot, say, in 3D has changed. So, not, in other words, maybe not much has changed in your relationships. You could be still single. Maybe not has changed with your communication with your family member, but what has changed is your self-awareness and connecting yourself back to yourself so you know who you really are, how you really want to feel, and what being authentic means. So, and again, it's bringing it back to I need to have 2020 vision about who I am, how I want to show up, how I'm going to be anyway, even though the world is figuring it out right now. Right now, for the next 4 years as well, we're in the muck of the shit. Bottom line, okay? And so they're extremes. We're going through a lot of polarity, and you're seeing it. And here's the truth: millions of people thought those things before Donald Trump. Millions of people thought those things before all of this shit that's going on. So it's just that now it's coming out. And it's coming out maybe in an ugly way, in an attacking way, and where projections are being thrown at you. And you're like, oh my God, I'm trying to deal with my own shit. And yet I'm getting this also. So it could be really difficult. Most people, I can say that, have never been public figures. Most people, I know there's bullying. Listen to this. I know we all agree with this. Haven't been bullied. Many of us have, but more than ever, all of us, including myself, are experiencing that if we voice ourselves online or if we're at the grocery store. So it's an interesting experience. You know, like for example, before I moved up to Ashland, Oregon, I was in Santa Monica, where I'm a local and I'm out there in the play structure, and it was outside, and my son wasn't wearing a mask and I wasn't wearing a mask, and this one parent with his kids ripped on me, like was bullying, and even said my son should wear one also. And I was like, wait a minute, I'm a local here. It's outside. We're at the beach. We're far away from each other. But the point was that I'm like, oh my God, it's not safe to be in my own backyard. This is someone who's driving in and telling me how I should live my life, to like, wow, this is interesting. And I'm thinking, wow, I don't, parents bullying, other parents. We didn't experience that before. I didn't experience that 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago. So it's a real strange time right now. And just imagine for, say, the alpha generation, oh my fucking God, them like seeing like the presidents, like the debates, like just say like 4 years ago, 8 years ago, and they're like going, oh my God, like, what's my future? So you see where I'm coming from and what I'm trying to bring here? It's this, is that if you pay attention to what's going out there, is to direct your life. If you're paying attention to whether or not a family member likes you or not, if you're paying attention to whether or not your friend is going to hang out with you or not, you're going to lose yourself in their drama. And remember, they're caught up in that which you're trying to, in a way, step back from so you can feel good and be with yourself. So when you're with yourself, when you're with yourself, and when you're with your calm nervous system, and when you're coming from a place of joy, then in a way, you're in the eye of the hurricane. And that's what it's really about, having that vision, having that 2020 vision to see things, to see it for what it is. It doesn't mean you have to like it, but also doesn't mean you need to be polarized and move into the hate of it to where you feel bad. So this overarching idea that we're all seeking connection is really about, how do I connect to my authentic self? How do I disconnect from that story that's going on out there? It could even be this. It could be, you could be a single person. You're thinking, wow, it's a strange experience because we're talking about things we never spoken about on first dates, politics, health things. I mean, like health, like things like that. It's like, wow, like people are like, was it a fucking interrogation? It doesn't seem as playful and as light, which is why I brought up in the beginning of my talk. We got to be light about it because a lot of people are in pain and a lot of people are in chaos. And I'm assuming that if you're on this summit, you're somewhat grounded enough in your heart and saying, you know what, enough of this shit. I'm going to do something for myself and my family to feel better so I can contribute, so I could be in my heart and so I could feel better. And that is ultimately where we want to get to in this space. Now, a couple other things I want to bring up as well is that there are a lot of, I do breathing exercises. I'm pretty ritualistic as far as like self-care. If you look at my room here, I have Tibetan bowls. I do many things like that. However, keep in mind that if you have those fearful thoughts, those limited beliefs and life philosophies that don't support you. So I'll give you a couple simple examples. And it's this: if you have a belief that for some way that you have to be close to one of your parents, or like you, because you have different political beliefs about your health or something else, then there's this disconnect and you're going to keep trying to like make that connection. Like you think it's your job to create this connection, you're always going to feel shitty. And if you feel shitty, it's going to stress your nervous system out. And then you're going to have to do yoga every day to clear out those, in a way, those beliefs that are negative. That's even creating the negative emotions. In other words, what I'm trying to say is, if you have negative like philosophies that don't support you every day, like this trash in here, this is your emotions. You're just throwing more shit in here because of the way you think about it. We're in a situation for the first time ever where we have to establish healthy boundaries. So, for example, I am a public figure. I see some really crazy shit like in my comments, my YouTube videos and whatever. And the moment I see kind of like person attacking me, I will not comment. They're in a stress place. I don't know what they're going through. They maybe lost a child. I don't know. But I don't have the energy to go back and forth with that person, fill this up with emotions, try to do a bunch of yoga to get that shit out so I could be present with my son. I would rather create new narratives so I can actually not be triggered by that. So it's very important when we become more authentic, when we get to a place of more clarity, it gives us the ability to where we don't take on negative emotions. Does that make sense? Now that's one part of it. The next part is this. What are those life philosophies? Getting clarity, whether you write it out or not. It's that I'm going to live my life this way. But you have to feel strong and connected to that. I'm going to no longer do this or that, or here's this boundary. If you don't respect it, then we're not aligned. You have to be okay that you may lose some friends. But wouldn't it be amazing? Because you also want to be connected to those who fully accept you, your light and dark, and can be authentic with you, where you can feel safe and trusted in those relationships, correct? So with strong boundaries, you teach people how to treat you, and your life is not so chaotic. So even like my situation where I was in a muck of a lot of that. Uh, Both my parents died over the last 5 years, and I even moved out of California. But the thing is that I recognize that More importantly, I had to be calm and relaxed. I wanted to have a lighter aspect of life. Remember, again, be in the world, not of it. And that's what that really means. Be in the world, not of it. There's always been problems on our planet. It's just now exacerbated, or just with social media, we can see it all, or maybe it's just become more transparent. It's maybe all of those things. Okay, well, still be the light of the world and connect to yourself and create life philosophy that support you. And it's a time where with that 2020 vision, you get clarity of to yourself of if this makes sense to you. Because as you notice, a lot of systems are falling apart because they're not sustainable. A lot of things just don't make sense anymore. Even the way we used to communicate before, like it's like, oh my God, I used to talk that way. We're all clearing out our shit. It's a wonderful time also to feel better about ourselves and become more authentic. And where there's this idea, I feel isolated and disconnected. Those people who are assholes or those people who are moving through their stuff, whether it's unconscious or not, that they might not be people you want to be friends with anyway or connected to anyway. Why work so fucking hard for that? When the reality is that there are people like on the summer right now, they're saying, you know, I want to take personal responsibility. I want to be fucking accountable. And I really want to connect with people and be in a safe place. So this is also time and space to where you get people who are not so extreme to left, right, to where people are like trying to make sense of it all, to where we can feel even more connected to spirit, more connected to creating a new earth, and more connected to heart to feeling more joy and love and so forth. All right, any questions? Okay, here. It's hard to become an orphan no matter what age or what relationships are with your parents. I want to respond to that because that's a belief also. Because in this moment, if I even relax my body, it's a lot easier in the morning when like I'm more in the etheric realms. I feel my parents. It's really a trip. I can feel the vibration and electricity move through my body. In fact, my parents' birthday is December 12th and the 15th. And it is so fucking weird. So I have a guitar here. You see this here? And it played like a couple notes, and my mother's Japanese, and it sounded like this, like like a Japanese guitar. And I thought it was just the wind. I thought it was just the wind or something, like maybe the guitar moved, and I positioned it to make sure it did not play again. I heard little notes, and it was on my mom's birthday. So when we go into fear and stress and the missing from a human perspective, we weigh ourselves down in dense matter. When we lighten ourselves up a little bit more, we can actually connect to who they really are and their true essence. So I have a different experience with my parents' death. Of course, I miss them, and I miss my dad's, his jokes. He's so hilarious. That's where I get my humor from. Um, but I always, because my life is so filled up with our hearts, I don't feel the disconnect because they're right here, right now with all of us. So that's my perspective.
This has been the probably the fourth question of this one is um, about men and getting men to open up.
So here's the thing. It's funny about to get men opened up. So let's be clear about what type of men we're talking about. So um, a man who has this idea that vulnerability is not masculine, or that they don't understand, like they just think they need to answer the basics, like such as if they show up on time, they pay the bills, and they're just like a real basic man, then that type of man might not open up. So I understand what you're talking about. So like, for example, I just worked with a man who is married, and uh, he has something going on. I'm not going to give details, but basically what came out of him, he's like, my wife is asking, for me to be there emotionally, and he's done this men's work also. And he's but like I told her, I straight out said, like, I'm exhausted right now. I'm dealing with my daughter, blah, blah, blah. And within just 5 minutes of a session, I had him close his eyes. I said, what's important right now? What's in your heart? It was, I'm afraid. I felt her. He was talking about his daughter. And I says, if you would have shared that with your wife, she would just melt. She like just shared that. I'm afraid, I'm alone, I don't know, I'm blah, blah, blah. And his wife knew it anyway. And just even knowing her just knowing where he was at and sharing that, she would feel more connected to his heart, even if it's in pain. So with whoever asked that question, it's this: you got to be a little more. It's like giving a manual to a man. It's like, did you know sharing your emotions could be where you come from I statements? I'm afraid, I'm alone. And you might say, well, that might make me look like a pussy. And you might say, no, actually it makes you look hot. So it's really invite even sharing that when you say I statements and I'm this and I'm that, like I really love that. I love that accountability. It's attractive. Then you show the appreciation with that. But if a man isn't ready or any person's not ready, whether you want to wait on their potential, send them to therapy and turn them into a project to fix them, by all means try that. But otherwise, there are a lot of people out there who are ready now, who are in the same place going, I want to express myself to a companion. But if you don't think they exist, if you talk about they don't exist a lot, or if you have blocks within yourself, you're not accessible, even attract that partner. Got more questions?
I am struggling with going to a celebration of life with an upcoming friend and ex. Like anything you can support around that.
Oh, absolutely. Well, the thing is, go through it. I would talk about the worst case scenario. If I go there, this can happen. If I go there, I'll be thinking about this. In this moment, when I think about the celebration of life, I feel this about it. When I think about the celebration of life, it makes me think about this person. When I think about going to a celebration of life, it makes me think about myself this way. If you just give like your raw, authentic, like expressions right there, that is enough to probably work with, because remember, there's nothing outside of you creating it. It's your perception of something that it's within. So just get that out and just be honest with it.
My takeaway from your talk, Ray, was responsibility. Like at the core of what most of the things you said was be responsible, and to use your language, be fucking responsible. Like with the cussing, this was awesome. But that piece for me at 28 years old, when I got sober, I took back my life and I stopped being a victim, was that personal responsibility changed my life. So what I would like to know from Cindy, Catherine, Ray is speak into responsibility. Like and sometimes we unconsciously may drop into like victim energy, but anything you want to say about personal responsibility, what that means to you and how it changed your life. I know it's a big question, but laser as much as possible.
If you're asking that question to me, that's everything to me, particularly as the type of man I am. In other words, like, for example, and again, this is a generalization, the masculine, whether it's a man or a woman, typically wants accountability, whereas maybe the feminine, whether man or woman, wants connection. And so, as an example, as far as accountability, it could just be my son saying, I said, did you do this? And he goes into excuse. And I'm like, dude, just say yes or no. It's not a big deal. I mean, just fucking say it. And it's just teaching right away to be able to own that and to know that, like, he's learning about life. We all are, even at 54 years old. I'm like, So it's just recognizing we're not supposed to be perfect. We're getting out of that old paradigm. So take accountability so we can move forward and grow and expand, rather than being stuck. I'm trying to protect myself and so forth. So most people who have a lot of problems in their life, if you go back to all the decisions they made, you'll say, oh, I was afraid. That wasn't really me. I don't know what I was thinking. So we got to get back to what do I want? Who am I? And be fully accountable for yourself and get clear. And from there, you'll see things start to like attract onto which is more aligned because you are now authentically yourself.
Hi, it's Dr. Ray here, and thank you for watching this video. I really appreciate your support, and you are the one who drives this channel. So if you like to be notified when new videos come out, please subscribe to my channel and push the bell button so you are notified when new videos come out. I appreciate you supporting this channel.